Welcome to Fellowship Safaris, conversations about people of color and their journeys to subspecialist training in their countries of origin and around the world. Hi everyone, and welcome to Fellowship Safaris podcast. My name is Dr. Jerry Kariajahe. I'm a consultant pediatrician and adolescent medicine specialist based in Nairobi, Kenya. In the last episode of Fellowship Safaris podcast, we had started a really interesting conversation with Dr. Susan Wamithi, who was taking us through her journey of inclusivity step by step. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, I highly recommend for you to go back to the playlist and take a listen to part 1. For those who have, Karibuni part 2, and join us as we continue on our safari. Were there opportunities to do more study within the developmental peds?
So there was that fellowship, and of course the aspect of coming up with a concept paper to try and meet. Like now for me, we're looking at whether baclofen, so children with cerebral palsy have pain. I did not know till I got my fellowship that they're in pain but they can't communicate it.
Oh wow.
And all I kept thinking is that, was Koi in pain? The time when we're seeing her tears,
Yeah, because she couldn't communicate.
She couldn't communicate.
Yeah.
And so, and meeting those families, because what they did is that they had you speak to a family who's taking the baclofen and getting their perspective. And for her, she's like, man, I don't think it's working for the pain aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I liked was the fact that they made it very real with someone with a lived experience. Don't just say you're doing a study on whatever.
Yeah.
Go talk to the person who is actually using that particular intervention.
Yeah.
And ask them, do you think this will be something that would be important to do?
Yes.
And what benefits have you seen? For me, it was so tangible. Because I'm not, and for me, it changed like how I do research and how I perceive research projects.
Yeah. Because
I'm like, we're not going to do research for something to be put in a journal and put in a cupboard.
Hey, say that again for the guys in the back of the tent.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is not what research is for. We're advancing medicine.
Yeah.
In whatever field that you're in.
Yeah.
Are you solving a problem or not? Ours is not just so you can see you have a grant, or you're doing research. Because for me, I'm a proud clinician, let me tell you. And I like to solve problems through research or through my clinic.
Yeah.
End of story. I'm a clinician first.
Yeah.
And so, and for me, it has to be practical. And I guess this is where implementation research will resonate more strongly to me.
Yes.
And building capacity resonates more strongly to me and that's just my journey, because everyone has their own purpose God has created them for.
Yeah.
So my purpose and what I've been created for is, how do I teach someone to make a difference in that person who's standing there in front of them?
Yeah.
Because they're going home that evening. Do you see what I'm saying? For me, it's that real time that is important for me.
Yeah.
Because someone is going home and you've given them a solution when they go home.
Yes.
And so if we're doing research, can it be where the priority is set by the people who are living through that?
Wow.
Because now the world is changing. It's family-centered. And family-centered care, family-centered research.
Yeah.
The people with lived experience should be driving that agenda. And so dissemination of your research work is important, but it should go past the conferences, past journals that some of us don't even have access to.
Yeah.
And I thank God for Prof. Macharia to teach me that. We target an open access journal.
Right.
Whoever was in Busia can read this work.
Can read the work. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
One in Tehran, in Oman.
Can read the work.
Not
this one, so you have to pay some amount of money.
Some amount of money.
So, fast forward to you transitioning back into Kenya and going back from being a learner to being senior
Yes.
consultant. I don't know what the word is now, but the specialist who's come back doing developmental pediatrics. What was that transition like for you?
So I actually want to thank the people in Toronto because we had discussions, because I studied from the beginning. I'm going back to Kenya. And so I was very intentional about how do I set up my clinic. And so I met with other people who were also foreign trained. And those who had chosen not to go back, those who had gone back and tried, then they ran into issues and came back to Toronto. Just to see, like, what do I need to do? How do I package myself? How do I go back to talk about something that people don't know where you belong? What is this? And people thought that all I do is check milestones,
Developmental pediatrics.
They're like, oh, you're just here to check the milestones. Maybe you should run the well baby clinic,
Hey, we are rough people.
And it was very interesting to come back. And so, but it was clear in my mind because it was like, God is with me. He sent me out. And all these opportunities that always fall into place because for me, I'm like, God, I'm intentional that you're guiding my steps. And so when I came back, it was very interesting because I looked at the space and I was like, this is not friendly for my patients. It's loud. There's so many people. I'm like, the main hospital, I was like, I need to find somewhere. So I visited different Aga Khan satellite clinics. And then I narrowed it to the one that I'm in right now because it's a ramp. It's very airy, spacious in terms of it has high ceilings. So it feels bigger than what it is. And then the parents can wait in a parking lot. And then when they're ready to come in, they come from the car inside. Wow. Because it's the proximity. The door, the clinic, the parking lot. I was like, I have found my place.
That inclusivity mentality is now built in.
It's built
for
in.
you.
And then even the public transport, it stops right there at the gate.
Lovely. I'd be like, guys, I don't have to be at the main.
So I only have one clinic in the main on a Monday afternoon. Because there's some children who are getting therapy, so it's easier for them, or they're seeing other specialties. Just that one clinic. The rest I'm at Wamithi because it is friendly in every manner.
Wow. And so what was the reception to this new way of thinking, new way of practicing when you came back and saying developmental pediatrics, this is what the ideal would be, and this is where I want to be set up? Did we accept you with open arms?
There's a mixed reaction a little bit. Because I had to teach because most of the times the managers are nurses and be like, look, this is the type of clientele I'm going to get. My clientele might be a bit short with the receptionist. So I had to talk to the receptionist about how if someone is shouting, they're not shouting, it's their situation. But of course, we don't condone abuse of our staff and learning that balancing act and teaching the lab staff. So I did CMEs for the lab technicians on how to draw blood from a child with autism.
Wow.
Because you're not going to sit there and tie them down. You have to do visual social stories. So for me, I was looking at every player who's going to interact with my patient and ensuring that they're equipped with what to do when they're engaging with my patients. And so it's not been 100%. But that's where I was intentional about. I think people who supported, the chair of the department, who supported, that decision of, okay, who do we need to talk to so that you can go set up what you need.
And it's so great that they were able to be supportive in that way, because sometimes I think when people hear set up, they think it's a structure, but it's actually talking to the people in the spaces and saying, hey, let's reframe how you think about this. Let's reframe how you handle this particular situation. Because I'm sure the guys in the lab had been taught how to make sure you get it the first time. That's their focus. Get the blood. And that's about it. And not to be crass about it. But then, everybody in their different places is taught like the main thing. But now you're being told, hey, there's a bit of a shift. Someone with autism. or even someone who comes in with something like Tourette's might say expletives at you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, this is how different things are redirected. Wow.
And then allowing like the triage.
Yeah.
You might not get the weight. We'll circle back.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
Yeah, and that's
I think
okay.
because kids, we are so stuck with the weight and the height.
And then I was like, we'll circle back.
Yeah.
Let's do the consultation. And then I'm like, let's go back and figure out if the child is ready to be weighed.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to your team out in the
I'm telling you, they are amazing.
Yeah.
And it's because the leadership there actually listened. And the nursing manager did, and did that. And even for programming, I had to go say, no, it's not every 10 minutes. It is 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But the parents have to be prepared that there's a waiting time.
Yes.
Because things get complications and all that.
Yeah.
And trying to appease the parents who, people who are used to 5 minutes consultation.
Yeah.
When they come, they're like, what's going on? It's so inefficient.
But you're like, no, it's actually intentionally designed.
Because if we decided, the thing that we had to weigh is that will I see 4 people in the morning and 4 people in the afternoon and have a 6-month waiting time?
Mm-hmm. Or
you've been open to waiting an hour for your scheduled appointment time.
Yes.
And I see you now versus I see you 4 months from now. Because that's something that I always try and help the parents understand.
Yeah.
Is that it's true in an ideal situation.
Yeah.
It's 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, I close shop.
Yeah.
But the waiting times is what we're thinking about and the reason why we're trying to do that.
Yeah.
And it takes a toll on me because there is no lunchtime. People see you going for lunch.
They're like, Doctor, just 5 minutes.
5 minutes. You used to go for lunch after you see me.
After you see me. Or use the washroom after you see me.
After you see me. And so it's just a balancing act. Because sometimes in the beginning, I'd forget myself. Yeah. And I learned to always, like at the end of the week, ask myself, where did I compromise me? Where did I compromise my family in the name of running this clinic?
Yeah.
And so I always have to take stock every day.
Okay.
Every day.
Wow.
Take stock and ask myself, what could I have done better? Mm-hmm. And what do I need to change? Mm-hmm. Because if you don't do it daily, because for me, I'm unable to remember what happened on Monday. Yeah. Yeah, so every day I take stock and try and change things.
You get to see a lot of very difficult situations. Apart from taking stock, how else do you take care of your mental health? Because that's heavy. I think for me, that's why I've never gone near developmental peds. I love it and the fruits of it, but studying it myself, I was like, I just don't know.
Yeah, so it's like every morning, and this is my routine. I have a podcast I listen to. Mm-hmm.
Including Fellowship Safaris podcast.
Of course.
We hope so.
Of course. But this is a spiritual podcast.
Right.
About, for me, my faith in God is what keeps me going. And I have different pastors I listen to every morning for that 30-minute drive.
Okay.
So I've been very intentional to listen to spiritual nourishment every morning. Yeah. And then I have my playlist of my songs that are my mental health support songs. Yeah. They don't sound like mental health support, but it's mental health for me.
It's mental health for you.
It's mental health for me.
Yes.
And so people are always like, Susan, every time you're in the corridors, you have headphones on. Yeah. And I thank God they've made them tiny. So it's just that I won't hear you when you're calling my name. Yeah. But like movement, I'm listening to something. Because it's those little moments that are actually lifting me up, because there's a lot of sadness in my specialty. Yeah. A lot of tears. A lot of caregiver suicidal ideation. Oof. And marital discord. Because the weight of having a child with special needs weighs on the family. And then that is all day what I'm listening to. And so you find, because I am still a human being, that I have to find ways of lifting my spirit. Yeah. And it was funny because we had get to know each other with faculty and residents. And it was say 2 truths and 1 lie.
Yeah.
And so people can figure out what's a lie. So I said I have 15 subscriptions of Nigerian movies in my phone.
Yes.
And of course everyone's like, oh, that's the lie.
And you're like, oh,
no,
not really.
Yeah, they're little stories that are cheerful and I don't have to think about anything. There's no mystery to be solved. There's no murder mystery.
Saves the day.
Nollywood saves the day, and Korean drama saves the day.
Hey.
So I have those subscriptions.
Yeah.
Like now, if I have 10 minutes and someone's not there, I'll watch a little skit.
Yeah. And the Korean ones are so hopeful.
They're so hopeful and so amazing and clean and just family oriented.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's my
jam.
That's my jam. In between patients.
Yeah.
As I write reports.
Hey.
So
K-drama and Nollywood.
K-drama and Nollywood save this doctor's day.
What?
Yes.
That's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
And that you've been so purposeful. Those 2 little points in the day, because I think sometimes when we're looking to change our mental health, we're looking for this key chunk of time. Nah.
There's no chunk of time.
There's no chunk of time.
No.
Oh, wow.
It is that walk from, like now I'm in the main hospital and I've gone to get coffee.
Yeah.
That walk from the clinic to Java.
Yeah.
I'm listening to a song.
Nice.
For those 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I have my uplifter songs when I'm feeling down and sad.
Yeah.
I have here's my playlist for uplifting.
Wow.
Yes.
You need to share your uplifting. Sidebar from. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's because if I don't do that, but it's taken me a long time, Jerry, to get there because I felt like I was losing my mind because I couldn't separate myself from the work, and I'm an empath, so I find myself drawn into it.
To the whole everything.
Like I said, I take stock every day.
Yeah,
because I can't plan. I'm not a good planner. Like this guy's all five years from here, I'm gonna be there.
Oh,
I admire the guys.
There's something we're going to talk about that's going to make me convince everybody else she's an excellent planner.
Well, anyway. So maybe I have little goals. I have short-term goals, medium-term and long-term. Yeah. And so my short-term are my everyday short-term goals. Yes. In that I take stock and I'm like, should have done this differently. Yeah. I felt like I rushed someone there because now people would share my number everywhere. So my phone would ring nonstop, even over the weekend. And so what I did is that I found, it's not an app, it's right there on your phone, called Short Messages. Yeah. So I have one at 5 p.m. exactly. Yeah. Dr. Wamithi is away from work. Call this number for bookings. Yes. And then my phone goes on silence when I'm not on call from 10 p.m. Yeah. You will not be able to reach me. Yeah. And you may feel guilty for doing that, but I can tell you I'm feeling more at peace this year because these were my decisions for December.
These were your New Year's resolutions?
Yes, it was self-care. Yeah. And then I closed my Saturday clinics this year. Best decision I ever made. Wow. Was now I woke up this morning. Yeah. We did pancakes with my son. And talked about whatever. Yeah. And then I had time to even come for this because I'd have been at work.
Yeah, you'd have been at work. Actually, some point last year, when we were trying to find time to even do this.
Could not.
And you're like, clinic, it's busy. I'm committed. I was just like,
I'm working and I'm leaving clinic at 4 p.m. on a Saturday.
And you see, even at that point, do you even have the space to even have a conversation with anyone? Because people have been talking to you. You've been examining the whole day. Yeah. What?
So that self-care, people talk about it, and at that time I didn't know what it meant. Yeah. But then someone had a talk with me. Thank God for girlfriends.
Hey, shout out.
Someone has to tell you.
Someone can say friend.
Yeah. Is this and my siblings? Yeah. They're like, seriously, how is this? Yeah. When's the last time we saw you? You don't even have time for anyone.
What?
So I had them.
Yeah.
And I made changes. Yeah. And I can tell you I'm more productive now. I am happier now. Yeah. Just making those changes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, some of us are still learning.
It's okay. It's taken 4 years. It's taken 4 years of trying and figuring out. and changing. Then you make a change, you realize that was a bad decision.
Bad decision.
But then you go back.
Yeah.
I still get overwhelmed, of course. Things happen.
Yeah.
Our children get sick, then every plan that you had goes out the window.
Right.
But it's through making mistakes that I've come to now this point.
This point.
Yeah.
How many of you in your specialty are there in the country?
We are
currently?
three.
Three. You know, me, I used to even say 4. You're 3.
We are 3.
Wow.
And I'm so happy because now Tanzania has someone.
Yay.
So now at least I don't have to get patients from
Tanzania who fly in.
Yeah, who fly in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But then, the fact that as a country we are at 3, and I think about the population of children, that's a big number for 3 people to be working with.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what we've done to help with that.
Now that's what I'm leading up to.
Yeah.
So because I'm just like 3 plus millions of children, not just here, but in the region. So please tell me about what you're doing about that to scale it up.
So now circling back, the people who supported my fellowship, the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation, now when I got back, I got back in August, and in December they're like, the American Academy of Pediatrics want to do some ECD work.
Yes.
Is this something you'd be interested in? I'm like, of course. I've asked for
those
this for
old drums of before the fellowship come back.
I love the fact that they reach back out again.
Yes.
Because they hadn't forgotten what I'd asked, and of course they financially supported my training.
Yeah.
And then to come back, and then COVID came, and so we had to find ways of now coming up with doing a needs assessment for early child development in the country.
Yes.
Because the gap's always that, we don't know the typical milestones. Now we have to teach that before we talk about atypical.
Yes.
And so it was nice to understand the ECD landscape, talking to NGOs, talking to educators, talking to academics, and those in the private and public sector. And so we're able to get 15 ECD champions who we trained. And the beauty about these champions is that they are from all over the country. Yeah. They're in academia. They're in public system, they're in private systems. They and at that time I think some were just coming out of school, because we recruited them in 2020 or 2021 there. Yeah. And so ours was, how do we teach them about early childhood development? Yeah. Because you have to train someone who's in different places who'd be the advocate. So it's an advocacy campaign. Yeah. And being an advocacy work, and of course I'm still a teacher, it was we advocate and we teach. Yes. Yeah. And so it's been an amazing 4 years. Yeah. Seeing these ECD champions. So we, as we worked together, we taught them the skills. Yeah. We taught them about advocacy. Then we came up with a course called The Fundamentals of ECD for Pediatricians. So it's an online course that goes through the neurobiology of early child development. It goes through the nurturing care, the caregivers and their well-being, developmental milestones, developmental surveillance for our culture. Wow. Yeah.
And that's a game changer.
It was so amazing just coming up with this course and having these pediatricians give buy-in and design and talk. And we rolled out that course. And the beauty about it is that they're the ones who give the lectures. For us, we're the course directors. And I'm seeing these amazing people we've trained now being the teachers. Wow. And so in January of 2022, we rolled it out. We had so many applicants from non-pediatricians.
What?
We're like,
what's happening?
The campaign, because we did a social media campaign. Yes. It was amazing. And KPA, shout out to the Kenya Pediatric Association and the Secretariat.
Hey, shout out to Kenya Pediatric Association Secretariat.
The amazing Secretariat who helped, fashion those campaigns. Yeah. And then we got medical influencers who are very intentional. Yeah. Medical influencers come in and tell us, when do you tweet?
Yeah.
What messaging do you have? So that people can be interested in the course. Yeah. So we had them retweet the messages. So shout out to Prof. Francis Furia, medical influencer of Tanzania.
Prof. Furia.
So shout out to him.
Yes.
Who gave me a whole talk about social media, and I was like, what?
I'm so glad I interviewed him. By the way, for season 2, I had interviewed him, and he was like, tell me about this podcast.
Yeah. He's amazing.
He is.
And him is like, that's a space that pediatricians need to own. People can be listening to blogs that... Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
So under his guidance, and we had one of the pediatric residents from University of Nairobi come and tell us about how to do the packaging and the messaging and all that. And so that campaign led to all these applicants. I think we turned out, I think there were like over 500 people who applied.
What? And you are aiming for how many?
50. Like 50 people.
What?
And so we're like, what? People are interested in early child development, and we didn't know.
Wow.
And because it was on social media, it's online, we ended up training people from 7 different countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which 7 countries are these?
So it was, of course, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Madagascar, Mozambique, and Rwanda, and I think someone from Sudan. So we're like, you won't tell us, because we're shocked at the app, because we're aiming for Kenyans, yeah?
50 Kenyans.
50 Kenyans. And we ended up training 113 pediatricians from 7 countries.
What? Guys?
So I was like, what?
That's bonkers.
And you see, that's what I say about not planning. Us kids were just... we just want to teach. So that people can recognize what is typical development and stop using the word abnormal. Yeah. And what is atypical, and what tools can you use. Right. To understand the basic science behind it. Yes. Because if you don't teach the basic science, like this is why, this is neurobiology, this is the role of caregivers. How do you empower caregivers? Yeah. And the rest is history. Then we rolled it out again for healthcare workers. Yeah. We trained 16 cadres of healthcare workers.
Sorry?
Lab technicians are interested in early child development.
I beg your pardon?
That? 16 cadres.
Guys of the lab. The people
we had lab technicians. Wow. Diabetic educators.
Wow.
You understand me?
Yeah.
Of course, nurses, clinical officers, pediatric residents, speech therapists, behavior therapists, psychologists, pharmacists. Me, the lab technician till today, is the one I was like. So all these healthcare workers, program managers.
Wow.
So I was like, we sat there. Of course, we had left it at the level of like the pediatricians. Yes. So we started off like 368 people. Yes. And then they dwindled down because I think the neurobiology kind of threw guys off. Yes. But for me, it meant, I was like, oh my goodness. We have people who are thirsty about caregiver well-being and developmental potentials. And the research that has shown, like for you, in terms of your adult human capital, the economic benefits of a country are dependent on those early years and nurturing care and caregiver practices. Wow. Back to the family. Remember I told you about my parents who, for them, they were just like, this child.
What you're going to do is face the desk to the wall.
No, it's a teacher.
The teacher. No, they bought the encyclopedias.
They bought the encyclopedias.
Yes.
And did all these different things, got me tuitions for 3 years to try to figure out.
Remember,
whatever is happening. I was 8. You understand?
You were 8 and you were number 29 out of 31. Which
horrified them. Because I think I was either 7 or 8 because that's the time the numbers were being given no matter what. And so, for me, I know what a parent or a caregiver can do for a child. Yes. Because even I loved Frank Jenga, seriously. Yeah. He was like, Susan, I don't need to ask if you're from a good background.
Wow.
Or whether you have loving parents or caregivers. Yeah. Because where you've reached as being a doctor, somebody somewhere supported you. And he is just talking about doctors in general. Yeah. If you've made it this far,
somebody somewhere
supported you. Yeah. Maybe your parents, your grandmother and auntie, but there was a caregiver who is the person behind the scenes. Yeah. Who has made every doctor in this country reach where they are. Wow. And I was like, what?
Do you know that shifts how you handle them?
Yes. And I was like, so what are you doing for these caregivers? Where the economic capital of a country is dependent on these parents.
Wow.
That is what early childhood development is about.
Yeah.
And that's what WHO and UNICEF, that is what they are championing.
Wow. Hey?
Yes.
Wow.
That is their work, and that's what they've taught me.
And that's what they taught you. That full circle. Aye. It's so full circle in a beautiful and very enriching way all along the way.
Yeah, because there's a God behind it. That's a part that... So this is me, my spirituality and who God is and what Jesus has done for me.
Yeah.
Is that everything matters. That interaction. Let me tell you the lesson I've learned in Jerry. Is you do not know where people are going to be.
Yeah.
When they grow up.
Yes.
So to speak.
Yeah.
And you don't know that person who you worked with. Because for me, my pastors and my parents taught me, you do right because it's right and you keep doing it right. So when we're there on the mats of, I can't remember we were in Cliffy County or where we were, but we're in the middle of the rural areas, teaching care for child development.
Yeah.
With those people who are now decision makers in the world. Wow. And because of that aspect of you doing everything that you can and your work ethic.
Yes.
And someone remembers you. You understand what I mean? Because that's what I mean. Is that I got an email because someone remembered.
Yes.
And it's because of God's grace that your name came up to someone's mind.
Yeah.
And so for the younger doctors, I'm always like, you don't know where people are going. Even me, I don't know where that younger doctor is going. Let's have mutual respect.
Yes.
Let's bring out the best in them. Let's be fair. Allow me to correct you when you're wrong. Correct me when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Let justice prevail in the way we're doing things.
Yeah.
Let's streamline stuff. Let's have policies.
Yeah.
We can't just wake up one morning and decide.
Yeah.
That's
not how things should operate.
That's not how things should operate. Yeah. Our job is not to use our power, because we have power as doctors, to infringe on anyone's rights. So me, I'm very big about rights, and it's through my experiences in Alabama, where I'm like, of course, things happened, and I had to prove myself to people.
Yeah.
To my classmates, to my professors.
Yes.
It was always like, you have to work 10 times as hard.
Yes.
And now that you're at a place where you've gone through those things, what doors are you opening for other people?
For other people to walk through.
Yeah, to walk through.
Yeah.
And you can't just wake up and decide what you're going to do with something that is not yours. You're a custodian of where you are.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what I'm passionate about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Susan.
Jerry.
What would you say for somebody who's trying to contemplate about fellowship or sort of picking on that thread of that passionate thing that they want to do or study further in? Yeah.
So for me is that you have to talk and widen your networks. Go knock on someone's door. To prepare for any journey out, you have to sit down and meet people who've been through that. You have to have 3 categories of people in your life. Those who are older than you, who are mentoring. Your peers who are telling you like it is and giving you feedback.
Yes.
And then the younger people who even their feedback on you and who you are as a person can guide you in terms of the decisions that you're making. So that when you identify the place and you be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
When you're like, okay, for me, I want to go to New York.
Yeah.
To do whatever. Or I want to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
Because now people are going to school in Dubai.
Yeah.
So you're going to ask yourself, let me do the research. Can I deal with whatever people are going through socially in Dubai? If I'm going to Russia and I have to learn the language to practice medicine, am I actually good at languages?
Yeah.
You understand?
You don't just pick the program.
You just don't pick a program because by the waves are going.
Yes.
So you have to know who you are and invest in your social capital, because if you don't, we're not an island. You need to talk to your teachers. You need to talk to people who are there, and people who will be honest about their experiences. Because there are people who lie. They're like, "Oh, it's the greatest program in the world," and yet you know, if you had another choice, you'd have gone a certain way.
Yeah.
And so, do your homework. See if it aligns with you and who you are as a person, even that career that you're choosing. Because sometimes it can be like, whatever is in now, let's all go be
whatever.
Yeah. And yet it doesn't align with who you are as a person. Like now for me, of course, there's always that part of, if I was the vascular surgeon, I love, even my pediatric surgery rotation was amazing. I loved it. I was always in theater.
Yeah.
But as much as I love that, what am I more wired for?
Yeah.
What resonates with me more?
Right.
And so that's I think for everyone has to have an honest conversation with themselves.
Yeah.
And then you have to have an honest conversation with yourself and where you are in your life. Can you travel or not?
Real talk.
Yeah. Is that person who is your partner, or whether it's your parents, it doesn't matter, depending on what stage you are.
Yeah.
Are they ready to support or not? Because if they're not ready and you think it's going to compromise your situation, drop it.
Just drop it. It's not worth it.
It is not worth it.
Yeah. And there's a time one of our teachers was like, hey, if you're looking at the family situation and this school fellowship situation and they're not compatible, please don't compromise your family in the name of these things. Like the way you said, if it's for you,
It will find you.
It will find you, and then it will align with your values, the things you've committed yourself to doing, and you're not going to have to break your back to do it. Yeah.
And then for me, it's about don't apply just to apply. Because it looks bad on you if you apply just to apply, and then you're like, no, I won't. This field is so small.
Yeah.
People will come back and be like, isn't she the one who
went
to I thought she did endo.
Yes.
No, now she's in
now she's in cardiology.
She's in cardiology. So you're looking like you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
And sadly, that's the way of the world, is that someone is going to find out.
Yeah.
Don't just apply to apply, because like now, for me, what keeps me going, when people show up and say we are not leaving till we are seen, and it's 8 p.m., and it's just me and the watchman in the clinic.
Because everybody else is like,
they already say, Doctor, are you giving me overtime? No, okay.
Says.
So and at that 8 p.m. where the parent has refused to go because they're so desperate.
Yeah.
It is my passion and my calling that keeps me on that chair. Because you can't be impatient. And God just wires you for that thing where it didn't feel like work. It'll feel like when I'm now driving home, I'm like, I'm so exhausted. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Should have not compromised myself.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then in the end, I'm like, I'm still someone who cares about outcomes and caregiver well-being. And so if it's not for you, will you be able to do those things and compromise and see a desperate parent and feel some kind of way that you're going to... You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
Like now, for me, I say I can never be a neonatologist because me, I used to just cry. The preterms on those vents.
Yeah, you're like, you can't.
I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And I could hardly wait for the rotation to end because I can't handle it emotionally.
Yeah.
And I always talk with my neonatal friends. I'm like, you guys are so strong. And then when they see my patients who are running around destroying, they're like, you are so strong. But you see, everyone has their calling. Different. They are wired differently. And I believe everyone has a calling. So it's just don't go because everyone is going. Because when you're now down to the wire, because you're the consultant who are seeing those patients, and you're having to go the extra mile, it is your passion and how you're wired that allows you to go that extra mile.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I think that's, and I'm sure other people can resonate with the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I have just really valued all your insights and your journey. You know the way in your mind there's the expectation. Expectation is here.
Yeah.
And then the outcome is, it's like that thing for you're expecting 50 pediatricians. And then suddenly you're in 7 countries.
Yeah.
That's what this journey and this safari, just listening to your experience, has been like for me. And so I really appreciate you carving out the time to walk us through that.
And I really appreciate you actually allowing us to share our journey, because if there's a young person somewhere trying to figure out, what does it mean for me to go? This is the background research I was talking about.
Yes.
Go to fellowship safaris.
Yes.
And identify that specialty that you want. Because I'm sure you've interviewed everyone, almost.
Some.
Yeah,
yes.
some. But okay, some. You've covered most specialties. So you can hear from someone else what made them go into it. What are the hurdles that they had to overcome? Is it something that you're ready to? And I think this podcast allows people to actually have the reality of what's on the ground. You'll be like, oh, I saw you have a track, but still like, let's go back.
Let's go back a couple of steps.
A couple of steps.
It's not just...
like it does, nothing magically happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes into raising someone, because someone raised me.
Yes.
The people behind the scenes.
Hey, your parents.
The parents.
Yes.
The husband who's by my side now.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping that you'll reflect and ask yourself, okay, this is what I've had. These are sacrifices people made. Let me make my decision. Yes.
Yani, you have summarized it so beautifully, because there are times people ask me, why this particular podcast? And at this point, I'll just be like in the interview with Susan Wamithi, No. Please just listen to her answer to that one. I really thank you for saying that. And I really appreciate I'm your secret mentee in the sense that there's so many things.
Like Dr. Limbe, I know she was my mentor.
Like Dr. Limbe, I know she was your mentor. Even you don't know you've been my mentor. In the sense that there are times I'm like, hey, what would Susan do? Like sometimes you're like, yeah, what would Susan do in this? Because also being in a specialty where I'm the only one.
Yes.
So in my mind, I'm always trying to figure out, how do I scale up? Or how do I make sure that I don't fizzle out completely under the workload or the need, or where's my place in this world where you come and people don't really know what it is. While they have a name for it, they're still trying to merge it in their heads, like, where does this specialty fit? So for me, that's why I'm just saying I'm your secret mentee, because there's some things, Yani, I'm just quietly sitting and sort of like writing notes. And I know sometimes I'll text you and I'm like, Susan, and then you're like, I'll call you back.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, because people are still mentoring me even now.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I came back home, it's like, so what are you?
What are you?
What do you do for a living?
Then you're like, developmental, and then like, yes.
But
what do you really do?
And I feel like even when I enter a space, even when we're talking with other faculty who are not familiar or other subspecialists who are in the adult world, you have to kind of, hi, my name, and this is what I do for a living.
Yes.
And even for the parents, sometimes I have to tell them, and this is what I do for a living. This is what my job is.
Yeah.
So, and that is because someone taught me in Toronto.
Yeah.
Is that because for him, he found parents didn't understand. Yeah. Because he came from, our similar background.
Yes.
That he has to actually say, I'm a developmental pediatrician. Yeah. My job is to help with functioning for children with special needs. Wow. Let's begin.
Yes. So you've already set the tone of the appointment.
Yes, because some people don't know why they're in the clinic. Why are you here? I don't know, Dr. I was referred.
And me, I'm one of those people. But I usually try and take time because I'm usually like, I want to send you to Dr. Wamithi. And this is the reason why I'm sending you to Dr. Wamithi, because of X, Y, Z. And then once you've gone through those steps, I know she's going to guide you in terms of what else you need. So they're like, oh, doctor, you can't do that. I'm like, not the way she can.
And that's the thing that, at the subspecialty level, like now for the adolescent in medicine and all those psychosocial things that they go through.
Yeah.
I don't have time to do a heads. Even I'm like, and I'm sure there's some letters I'm missing with that story.
Yeah.
And you're here to raise awareness, of what your role is for these adolescents who are vaping, who are, and forgive me for intrusive, and now doing an interview back to you. Yeah, because like now when I Google vaping after your talk, I got things like vaping near you, like
all these things.
Advertising how I can get it to my house. Starter pack for vaping. And I was like, Jerry has work to do. That's all I thought. And that's what I mean is that if you enter into someone's specialty and just Google a little bit, you'll be like, no, please. Okay, let me hand over. I'm done. And it's here to be able to raise the quality of care that we're providing for pediatric patients. Because of course it's a lot of work that general pediatricians do. But then now there are those who need that extra care and that extra, because I'm not going to go to conferences in people's fields. What is new? What is there? You're there to help elevate, take up the field of pediatrics by providing that information. Because for me, like I said, it was shocking for me that there are starter kits for vaping that people are trying to help to deliver to me. And yet they don't even know how old I am. And all this work, and it can be just, in all our fields. So for me, let's respect the subspecialties. Let's support. Let's, because I find, I was told that someone can do your job. I'm like, I'm sure I don't know. That's their perception. But I'm like, those 2 years in the snow, I think
was worth something.
Was worth something, but I shall leave it at that. And so hopefully, like even with this, with this podcast, people understand what it is other people are trying to do in their fields. So to respect that and support that and understand even your line of work. And what you're supposed to be doing to grow your field. This country has so many children. So many children who need everybody. And so to look at it that way.
Well, thank you
for having me.
Hey, Yani, we're looking forward to the feedback because I know I'm going to get a lot of feedback specifically about Susan's journey, and we'll put a way that you can be able to communicate with her, not her phone number. We'll have either an email or a social media handle so that if you have any other questions about getting into developmental pediatrics, plugging into the ECD program, and I'll put links for upcoming trainings or what you can be able to find online. We'll include that. And we are looking forward to interacting with what you have to say about this conversation. And until next time, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
My mind is blown at the amazing experience that has been Fellowship Safari's podcast and this safari that I've been able to take with each and every one of you. So I'll start with the listeners. Thank you so much for listening week after week and, giving us your feedback. I really do appreciate that this has had an impact not only on various decisions that people have had to make, but also just getting an insight into what it takes to go through this subspecialty training. So for the listener, I want to say a big thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been amazing. I also want to take time to thank our guests. We really want to say a very, very big thank you. Our audience loved you and I enjoyed interviewing you. Thank you and a big applause to our guests. Like all beautiful and amazing things, we will need to go on a little bit of a break. So there'll be a pause with the Fellowship Safaris podcast. In the meantime, you can always re-listen to episodes wherever you get your podcasts. And until then, bye. Listeners are advised to use their own judgment and discretion when applying any information discussed in this and all podcast episodes to their specific situation. always seek the advice of a qualified professional if you have any concerns or questions regarding a particular subject matter. You can find this and other episodes of this podcast on our website at www.fellowshipsafaris.org. You can also find all our episodes on all podcast platforms. Reach out to us on social media as Fellowship Safaris on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and our Twitter handle is @fellowshipsafar. You could also send us an email on fellowshipsafaris@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you and interacting with what you have to say about the Fellowship Safaris podcast. It takes a village to make this podcast. The executive producer and original music is done by Mokavi Maweu. The sound engineer is Tevin Sudi with thanks to AQ Studios. Graphic design was done by Benjamin Mboya. We would like to give a special shout out to Josephine Karianjahe and Melissa Mbogwa of Africa Podfest. All rights reserved by Dr. Jerry Karianjahe and the Fellowship Safaris podcast.